Hi, and welcome to my channel. And in this video, I'm going to do a review and brief discussion about this puzzle that I have in front of me, which is by Dayan, and it's actually a Compy Skewb. That's the correct name for this puzzle, despite the fact that Dayan named it the Professor's Cube. And honestly, I don't understand why all these puzzle companies, a lot of them, give misleading names to a lot of puzzles. And the same goes, for instance, for the Dayan Master Skewb, which is not a Master Skewb, it's a Master F Skewb. And the same with this. This is a Compy Skewb. Now, a Compy, what exactly is a Compy cube? It's quite a rare puzzle. I haven't really seen that much of it, but basically it's a shallow cut dino cube. So this here is a regular dino cube. You could see it's a corner turning puzzle, and it cuts straight through the middle. Now, if you cut deeper, that's how you get a skewb. Instead of cutting through the middle, it cuts even deeper, and you get a skewb. So what happens if you cut it more shallow? Imagine a line here. And to give you a visual, let me just do a few moves on this puzzle here. And hopefully this will give you a bit of a visual. And I will talk about the turning of this puzzle and the like. Okay, so I've only done the dino turns, and you can see this X. And this X is basically kind of like the core of the Compy cube, whereas these are the dino cuts. So you can see the shape here with the two edges. It's a big piece, but here it's a small piece, and because it's shallow, it creates these central pieces. And those central pieces are basically a fixed center, and then these pieces, basically fixed corner pieces, which is all connected. So this green, this yellow, and this orange on a Compy cube would be a single piece, and there's no trivial tip. And what this could be compared to is a ready cube. And the ready cube solves exactly the same way as a Compy cube. The fact that the Compy cube has centers is irrelevant. The solve is the same. And these corners, they stay fixed. And the edges are they're the ones that swap around. Strategy is exactly the same. And so what this puzzle is, it combines that element of the Compy cube together with the Skewb. Now here I did the dino turns, and on this side, let me do some Skewb turns. I don't want to scramble it too much, so let me maybe first undo these before I do the Skewb turns, and then I will discuss more. Okay, so those are the dino turns. Now if we do some Skewb turns, you could see how this puzzle is like this. And so the way that it's solved, I'm sure there's numerous methods to solve it. But the method that I checked online and pretty much kind of thought of on my own as well, and I've already solved it this way, which I think is a good method, is you reduce the you basically reduce it into a Compy cube and solve it as such. So you basically, in the end, you solve it kind of like a ready cube. And so the first step would be you solve the Skewb portion, the outer portion, so these fixed corners, this piece, for instance, yellow, 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 with the yellow center, and then the top corners and these center small pieces, you solve that. Then you reduce the X of the Compy cube by putting in these pieces on all the faces, and finally you reduce these dino edges, and then you solve it. Okay, so what can I say about this puzzle? I was really hesitant for a long time to buy it, to get it, and just recently, actually just today, it arrived. I ordered it a few days ago from the Cubicle, and the reason I was so hesitant is because pretty much everywhere people complain about how poorly this turns, how it pops, and how horrible it is, and pretty much everyone. And I've been thinking about it for a long time and finally decided to give it a chance. And part of the reason for that is that quite a few of the puzzles that I have don't turn that well, and I've solved them, and even though sometimes it can be frustrating, I still enjoy the solves. For instance, which puzzles can I give as an example of that? Like Virgo's Pentagram, for instance. I think it's a wonderful puzzle. It doesn't turn that great, but I've solved it numerous times. And then what else? We have the more recently released Ghost Z Cube, which is a hybrid of a 2x2 Skewb that's ghosted. Very catchy puzzle, very difficult to solve in that regard, aside from the fact that it's a difficult puzzle in general. Nevertheless, I still enjoyed it, despite the frustrations of the catchiness. And I have to say I'm not disappointed with this puzzle. The dino turns, some of them turn okay. I think like this one turns okay. Others don't turn as well. It could be because I just got it. Maybe if I solve it a couple of times down the line, it's going to turn better. The Skewb turns, they turn all right. Sometimes they catch a bit. Obviously, they don't turn as well as the normal Skewb, but they're okay. It's primarily the dino turns that can be problematic, and you have to be extra careful with that in order so it doesn't pop. And so far, I've done a single solve with this, and I was indeed very careful with the turns, and thankfully there has not been any pop. And yeah, so what else can I say? A lot of people looking at this would think that this is the Elite Skewb, aka Professor Skewb, which is like a think of it as a 4x4 Skewb. So this would be like a 2x2 Skewb. Then there's the Master Skewb, which I don't have in front of me right now. And then there's the Elite Skewb. So this here is the actual Elite Skewb. And you can see here, if I make these turns, how it is like a 4x4 version of a Skewb. 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. And you would think that this is the same thing. And technically, they could have made this cube with these kind of cuts and it would turn the same way, but I guess they don't do that in order to improve the stability, because then the corners would be very small. Honestly, I'm not really sure why, but you know, it is what it is. This cube is nice in itself, both as far as look and solve, and this one is nice in itself as well, but the cuts here are different. So if I turn all the layers, try to do so carefully, you could see the layers look like this. So it's dino, dino, and the Skewb turns. Also, you could turn the trivial tips. Personally, I never really scramble these. I never turn the tips, though I guess it's good that it's there because it helps preserve the geometrical shapes. And but they play no role in the actual solve, whereas the tips here do actually get scrambled on the actual Elite Skewb. So what can I say? Yeah, I really like this puzzle. The turning of the dino turns is very stiff on some of them. I'm hoping that it's going to improve with time. And aside from that, it's fairly manageable if you're careful with it and patient with it. I did the scramble and solve all together in less than 1 hour, I would say, maybe 1 hour tops. And if this would turn really well, I'm sure I would have done it much quicker. And also, I was quite surprised by how small this puzzle is. I assumed it would have been more like the size of the MF8 Elite Skewb. You can see here the size difference. It's quite... This is closer to the size of a normal Skewb, just slightly bigger. Much smaller than the Elite Skewb, and if we compare it to the Ready Cube, it's even smaller than the Ready Cube. So yeah, so that's going to be the video for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time.